Good morning. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the college experience. To me, these sessions will be probably the most telling in terms of not only understanding me, but understanding a great deal about my philosophy, my morals, my value system. The college experience was unique in some respects. I had no particular interest in any of the colleges of the day. Most of my class, for some reason, jumped ship and left Wyoming for Colorado, university there. It could be because it was the party school of its time. At any rate, I did not apply there. I applied only to two colleges, Reed College and University of Wyoming. University of Wyoming was a given, as I was a graduate of the Wyoming school system. I did not hear back from Reed until early August, to somewhere between early and mid-August, with a beginning date of September 1. The process of getting in was very lengthy and very time-consuming and harassing. It was difficult. But having made the cut, I departed from Sheridan to Billings in the car with my trunk. And in those days, it was the proverbial trunk. It was almost a Siemens type trunk, and that's what you went to school in. Loaded on a train, given some operating money, and sent on my way. My first big alone experience in the world. But I have to say I enjoyed the train trip. I was thrilled going down the Columbia Gorge at that time in the dome cars. So my adventure was off to a good start. I arrived in Portland. It was on a Sunday morning. Took a cab to the college. Unloaded my trunk at the what the cab driver says was the main hall, and went in to look for someone who could assist me in finding out where I was to be housed. It was Sunday. There was no one there. And as I entered the building and began to look around and found everything closed and locked, I realized that I was in a pickle. At that point, I started, I think, with some verbal criticism of the system, and heard these footsteps echoing down a hallway above me and coming toward me. That turned out to be my good friend and Justice Fryman. Now, Justice had gone to the main hall to look for mail. Fortunately, I stumbled onto him, and he rescued me, took him back to his assigned dorm, and I bunked there for the night. Well, that was how I began my career at Reed. And Reed, it is a unique college. I'm not going to dwell on it a lot, but I suspect if anyone wants to understand where I'm coming from and what it's like, 10 minutes with Wikipedia, reading history and background will tell you a great deal about what I'm going to talk about. For me, I left that world of certainty and entered an academic atmosphere that I, in my wildest dreams, never realized existed. My rather sheltered life, as I've discussed, was a thing of the past. And I embarked on a very great adventure. And if you should take the time to read about Reed, you will understand my passion and my love for this institution. I can briefly comment on a couple of things. Number one, Reed is known for its liberal arts curriculum and its approach to humanities. In the Reed, at that time in the Reed curriculum, humanities was required for 2 years. If a normal year was 15 college credits, 8 of those would be based on humanities. 1 year, my freshman or sophomore year, it was 7 credits, and the next year it was 8, or vice versa. But at any rate, that left time for 2 other classes. So essentially you had 3 classes. A humanities course I went looking in my little box of souvenirs from Reed, and I found part of the assignments for I think it's the sophomore year, and I was hoping to find both and find a way to incorporate them into this dialogue so that you would understand more. Reed is also unique because of its senior thesis, which is mandatory for graduation. Prior to the senior thesis is the junior qualifying exam. If you fail to pass that, in essence, you're gone. You can go back, take it another year. The thesis is accompanied by, it's to be an original thesis. It's to be accompanied by an oral exam. The intent is to duplicate, and I think it certainly does, the difficulties and awareness of a system that any PhD graduate is forced to endure. It ranks way up there in terms of scholars. It's one of the colleges where well, in fact, it's the only college in the country today that has a nuclear reactor for the purposes of science study, which is run entirely by undergraduates. Now, there are other schools now with nuclear reactors, but at the time I entered Reed in 1954, it was the only college with a nuclear reactor dedicated to science. So it is unique in many aspects. I went in just following the Joseph McCarthy era of purging the United States of communism. Reed had a reputation because of its liberal programs of being suspected of being a communist-run organization. And the history on that is interesting, to say the least. At any rate, I arrived right after the demise of this, and it was considered by many to be a tainted college in its programs and curriculum. So to a certain extent, you were in fact, well, I guess, characterized. You were profiled as a student. I should mention that Reed, prior to my freshman year, had made the cover of Time magazine. Reed was the only college that took exception to professors being released of their teaching duties based on their philosophy. And there was quite a long battle in that regard, and it's very well remembered today. That's the background going into my first year, and I have to say that to this day I think it is probably the single proudest achievement of my life to have completed that rigorous course, and hopefully have benefited and let it be a guiding light in the way that I have conducted my entire life. I'm going to talk shortly, getting close to shutdown time, but I would say that you needed to be there to understand the humanities program. Not only was it an 8-hour course, it was broken into a very rigorous reading exam, reading curriculum, and there were lectures either 2 or 3 times a week, anywhere from an hour to 2 hours. But the main focus was on the classroom. The classroom was conducted around a oblong or circular table. Reed has always had a high ratio of teachers to students considered normally to be 1 to 10. And the professor was always in our classroom, but their role, and they would tell you immediately, was they were not going to lead the conversation. You'd had your assignment, you'd read your material, and you were to sit down and critically review, comment, think, evaluate what you had read from any aspect that you could think of. I've had more than one professor come in, sit down and not say a word, and within 10 minutes, if no one has started a discussion, you just get up and leave. Now, if that happened, you were expected to stay, and somehow or other someone takes the initiative and begin a meaningful dialogue. Now, for most of us coming in, this was quite a, wow, it was, I certainly didn't come prepared to be a group leader in a intellectual discussion on Greek mythology. So, but you did. You learned with time. You learned to you learned to evaluate what you were reading, studying, bring it to class, and throw it out on the table for discussion. The upshot is I went from, literally zero critical thinking, evaluating, studying, to a world that's all there was. There wasn't any right or wrong or correct answers here. It was, this is what history has provided us, what did we learn, where are we going with it, etc. That was the first 2 years were based on the humanities. It's mandatory for all students, still is, and it's a fascinating way to enter into college life and academia. With that, Carpe Diem, we'll pick up again shortly. Thank you.